I regret to inform everyone watching this video that the Charizard influence over VGC actually has been a conspiracy this entire time. I know, shocking. So, recently, there was an interview with Famitsu, with the director for Pokemon Champions. And in this interview, he actually revealed some pretty interesting information. I don't think a ton of it is stuff that we didn't kind of already know or could just assume. However, I do think that this is worth talking about because we can kind of see what their vision on the game is. All right. So I could read through the actual article. I don't feel comfortable reading through the actual article for one reason, and it's not just because I'm lazy. It's because it's auto-translated, right? And with auto-translate, you end up with a lot of really strange translations as far as things with like specific item names in Pokemon. For example, I think they refer to reflect as like reflector, and light clay is like light barrier or light screen. Like there's just like these different things that make it a little bit difficult to understand. And I know that might seem small, but there's also just small like issues with grammar and stuff that can make it a little bit more confusing. So Raisin Burst here has actually translated it for us and also gave us kind of the Spark Notes rundown. So we'll go through this and I'll give my thoughts on the entire thing because I do think this is good info. New information. Pokemon Champions was originally planned to release for summer break late July in Japan, but was pushed a month early so new players could have as much time as possible to join in with Switch users. That's pretty cool. Wait. Maybe they mean mobile specifically. Pokemon Champions was originally planned to release for summer break, but was pushed a month early so new players could have as much time as possible to join with Switch users. Maybe it's that both of them were going to release later than they were originally planned to. I do find that surprising. It is weird that a game that we assumed was getting delayed over and over and over again actually was released early. That's strange. I feel like they mean the mobile version because that's the only way it makes sense. If the Switch version came out before, it makes sense for them to release the mobile version in, I think, June, which means that they can join the Switch players earlier. That makes sense. 8 days after release, Pokemon Champions surpassed 10 million downloads. That's cool. Good to know that there's over 10 million people playing this game. Brazil is the region with the most downloads after Korea, US, Japan. June's monthly challenge exceeded 1.3 million participants. Okay, this is definitely talking about mostly the mobile version of stuff, because I think that speaking specifically about June only makes sense if it was the mobile version. Yeah, 1.3 million people playing in the monthly challenge is really cool. I do have one issue with the monthly challenge. It's that only one of them was like double battles, right? The rest were singles. I don't hate singles. I just wish that we had like a VGC competition online. I also do think it's interesting that they're not awarding points anymore for online competitions in Champions, or at least so far it seems like they're not. I know that we haven't had one that is within like the season of a competitive season, but they did say outright like, oh yeah, these aren't awarding points anymore. But I hope that they change that. South America and South Asian countries have risen to top 10 in player statistics for that first time. That's awesome. I do know that like mobile games are pretty big in South American, South Asian countries, so that would make sense that they have like a pretty large player base. Multiple UI updates, including for the box, are in the works. This is one that I actually really care about a lot. I'm going to pause the recording so I can open up the UI and talk about it a little bit more clearly, because this is actually one that it really frustrates me. Okay, we can talk about the UI now. So if you look at the box UI, I mostly just have an issue with certain things in the menu. So when I'm building a team, right, when I'm on this left side of the screen and I want to build a team and I want to like access certain things, I guess I can't really show it on the mobile version because it's really an issue with the with like the Switch version. But like there's a drop down, and one of the things that you can do is remove from team, right? And it's right next to give item. Luckily, it's a lot easier on mobile. I kind of hope that they move the mobile version of the UI a little bit over, or to make it a little bit closer to like to that on the Switch version. I really hope that they update it. My biggest issue with the UI as things are right now is actually with the training screen. I don't know if this is just me, but I feel like the Pokemon training section is one of the most useless like UI implementations of like a separate UI like as there are in the game. Like there's not many uses for this specific little area of the game. And I always get confused, right? So I want to build like a new team, right? Where I go to build my team the most efficiently is box. I click over to box and I fill out, the battle team, and then I click on the Pokemon and I click train Pokemon, and that allows me to train it. That is the best way to train the Pokemon, in my opinion, because Pokemon are usually trained for one specific team and not like general use purposes, and then you put them together like Legos. It's not like that, at least not in like higher levels of play. Pokemon training, this menu makes sense if you just build a bunch of like sets and then build a team from existing sets. But unfortunately, that's not really how like good team builders do it. This menu, I keep clicking over it to train Pokemon, and I expect it to be the box. I think that this is just like annoying because like, oh yeah, I want to make a Rampardos team. The best way to build a Rampardos team is to put them all in the box and then figure out like your move sets and then kind of adjust it from there. Building the Rampardos, right? I click on the Rampardos and I click commence training, and then I do all that stuff, and then the Rampardos is done, and then we're back here. Like, what's the point of even having this menu if it really is just it's the box, but again, and worse? Like, I don't really get it. I think that this menu is like what really annoys me about the game more than anything. Beyond that, I don't really think it's I don't think it's like the worst UI. I think the shop could use some improvement. I really wish that you could organize things differently. Like, there's no alphabetical. I think alphabetical is like a good idea. New arrivals is like really confusing because when I'm looking for a Megastone, this is my alt account, so I don't have all the Megastones purchased, right? Let's say I want to get I don't know, what's a Megastone I don't have? The Pidgeotite, right? Well, I can do it by new arrivals, which makes it so I don't really know where the Pidgeotite is. Like, I can scroll to it, it's just kind of randomly here. But like, if we were to add, instead of VP cost or new arrivals, if we added alphabetical, I would know like, oh, I'm at Aerodactylite. Let me scroll down until I get to the P's, and then bam, Pidgeotite. Yeah, that is one of my main issues of the UI of the game. So I'm glad that they're going to go ahead and update that. Okay, let's go back. Cool. Pokemon for Regulation MA and MB were chosen mostly for their ease of use with entry-level niches for new players. I like this. This was kind of what I assumed when it came to the Pokemon they chose for the Pokedex. I do think it's pretty apparent that they want to make the game easy to learn if you've never played VGC before, because I think that the mission for this game has always been getting people to play, Pokemon battles at a higher level without having to worry about learning everything at once. And that's like what's really kind of magical about this game. A lot of people didn't like the exclusion of the Life Orb or the Assault Vest or all these different items at the start of the game's release. But I think that slowly drip feeding those into the game and not having like, let's face it, the biggest influx of players will happen at the launch of the game. That's when you get the most new players, especially with the mobile release. Like, the mobile release is probably the absolute most new players that this game is going to get. And then it'll kind of trickle in over time. So getting the launch right is going to be integral to making it so people don't drop the game. And if I were a brand new player and I needed like really complex tutorials where it's like, okay, well, you can attack a Pokemon on the special defensive side and it'll do less damage. They have that tutorial actually with the Dragapult versus Avalugg, if you remember that. You can click Draco Meteor to one-shot it, or you can click Dragon Darts to like not KO it because it's a physical attack. If they added a second tutorial where they just go like, but sometimes they're holding an Assault Vest, that would frustrate some newer players. I get why they didn't include it, and I think that also applies to a lot of Pokemon. I get why they didn't include pre-evolutions at the launch. I was a little disappointed at first because I would like to play with Clefairy and Electabuzz and Magmar and all these really great pre-evolutions. Porygon too. But I think that it would be confusing for a lot of the new players if it's like, okay, on release, it turns out Porygon 2 is better than Porygon Z despite being a pre-evolution because of the Eviolite item and the increased bulk, and now you got to learn a little bit more math than you're really willing to do, even though it's just easy multiplication. It makes more sense to have someone play with all these fully evolved Pokemon in very limited amount of items and then go like 6 months in, hey, here's an update. We added an item called the Eviolite. The Eviolite does this. It makes it so, not fully evolved Pokemon now have a 50% boost in defense and special defense. What could that be useful for? I don't know. Here's a bunch of not fully evolved Pokemon, and there's a Porygon too. And then the players who have now learned all the other, mechanics of the game can not, have their brain pulled in 10 different directions and just focus on like, oh, let me experiment with the Eviolite and see what that does. That's the right way to do it, in my opinion. I think that they really nailed that. So, yeah. This channel is partnered with GamerSupps. If you want to support my work and get great tasting drinks, you can order GamerSupps through my link in the description down below or with code Moxie boosted at checkout for 10% off. GamerSupps is a caffeinated product that I recommend only to my 18+ viewers, but my link will send you to their caffeine-free product section just in case. Every product purchased through my link supports my channel financially, so I'd really appreciate the support. Now back to the video. Pokemon for regulation MA and MB. Yep. Items are added based on an evaluation of the current state of the metagame. In short, to shift. That's good. I'm glad that they're looking at the metagame and going, hey, let's kind of add items just to make something a little better or a little worse. One of the items that can be added to make Charizard a little worse is the Assault Vest. But they didn't add the Assault Vest. Why? Because I think they wanted MA and MB to be as similar as formats as possible. So adding the Assault Vest as like necessary as that is to shift the meta away from Charizard slightly would have inherently changed the meta enough where it, like, if Charizard's not as good, now people will have to learn a different metagame. And like when MA and MB are meant to be ease of use and similar, like that's a good reason not to add it just yet. MC, I'm gonna predict we get the Assault Vest MC. That's my take. All right, here's the conspiracy. Regulation MA was always planned to have a big focus on weather because Hoshino thinks weather wars make battles way more fun. A lot of people do like weather wars. I'm not a big fan of weather wars. However, I do think it's kind of funny that Charizard is like the strongest Pokemon in the game, and the developers of the game just straight up say like, oh yeah, Reg MA, that's going to be around weather wars. Who's the best weather? Might be Charizard. Maybe a little Charizard Venusaur action. Maybe a little Garchomp. They all really love when Sun's active. And it's like, yeah, man, I always make the joke that Charizard's a Nepo baby. It really is a Nepo baby now. Like, they just straight up say like, oh yeah, we made MA and MB the Charizard format on purpose. So that's funny. I don't know. I think that's really goofy, but hopefully MC will change things. Speaking of which, Regulation MC will also focus on Mega Evolution. That's assumed. We're definitely not getting Dynamax or Z moves like within the year. The staff are currently evaluating which of the first legendary Pokemon will be added in Champions in a future season. That is incredible news. I'm glad they're really thinking about which legendaries should show up first. And I think that that's an important conversation to be had for one reason. Legendaries have the potential to seriously power creep this game way harder than any other kind of Pokemon, obviously, because legendaries kind of inherently come with high stats. Not all of them, but like if they added base Landorus to the game, suddenly not only do we have like a great Pokemon on Rain, but we also have just like a really ridiculously strong special attacker that really it disassembles like balance entirely. It just, and not balance like game balance, but like balance as an archetype. It can break anything. Toxapex goes out the window. It loves playing next to Charizard. Technically a buff for Charizard if we really get down to it. It's also good on Rain. It's also good into Archaladon. So it's like a really nuanced Pokemon, but like it cranks power creep up way too much. So adding Landorus, I would say, is a bad call, right? Same with Tornadus, same with Thundurus. Same with the Tapus, frankly. Like all the Tapus, I think that playing Terrain Wars, even though Terrain Wars might be upcoming, I think we're probably getting Rillaboom next format. I'd really rather we not, though. I think Terrain Wars are going to show up eventually, and Mega Raichu X is probably the first indicator of that. I would argue that the types of legendaries that should be added first are, I don't think that they're going to add, categories of legendaries separately. I think that like if Zapdos shows up, all of the Cantonian birds will show up. We'll probably get like Moltres and Articuno as well. And I think these ones are actually a really good candidate for the first legendaries to add to the game, because not only are they recognizable and people will probably log back in to get them, because those people who were playing Pokemon Champions for a little bit and then dropped it are now told they added Zapdos to the game, and Moltres and Articuno, they'll probably circle back and go, I want to go get one of those. That's like a really good call, because they're not only, you know, some of the more mid legendaries, but they're also like the more popular ones. A group of legendaries I would love to see added to the game, despite me not actually being a fan of them, just purely for the sake of adding good psychic types, and that's like a stretch, frankly, is the Lake Trio. I think that if there was ever a format where the Lake Trio can finally do something, it's gonna be MC. And that's just because there aren't a lot of psychic types in the game right now that are like flexible like these Pokemon. Uxie is actually really cool because it is a dual screens user. Let me turn on National Dex here so we can actually see everything. National Dex, Uber is cool. Uxie has access to Light Screen, Reflect, doesn't have Taunt. It has Encore. It's basically just like a really fast Cresselia. That's the best way to describe it. It has Trick Room. It has Imprison. It's really interesting. And all these Pokemon also have this move that is exclusive to them. I believe it's called... not Secret... it's Mystical Power. It's a 70 base power psychic move with 90 accuracy that always boosts the special attack stat by 1. That's pretty cool. I think that like adding these guys to the game, like there's not a lot of psychic types that can kind of do what they do right now. And also it's just like another Levitate user, so it's a switch into Garchomp technically. They also all get ice coverage. Uxie gets Ice Punch. That's technically pretty good, but I'm more talking about like Ice Beam on these guys. Wait, do you not get Ice Beam? I could have sworn you got Ice Beam. Is it you, Mesprit? You have Ice Beam, right? Yes, okay, Mesprit gets Ice Beam. Uxie's interesting because it does have like more offensive tools. It has like Stealth Rock, it has Taunt. I know that feels weird saying offensive, but like it is like a really offensive Pokemon with like these tools slapped on it. It's also able to go for like cool support moves like Encore, but most of all, like of course, Explosion. It blows up. 125, 115, actually like a really good speed tier and good special attack stat. We need more Pokemon in the speed tier. Uxie could unironically be really solid. And then Mesprit, the slowest of the three, but also like the most balanced stat-wise. It has 105 in every stat except for HP and speed, which means that you can like max out this thing's HP, make it like a bulky mixed attacker with like a Life Orb. It's actually not in a bad spot right now. Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, the bulk to be able to live a Heat Wave from Charizard, and also like weird support moves like Rain Dance if you really want to. These guys are really solid. As far as the other legendaries, it's kind of up in the air. I mean, like they can kind of add what they want. I'm not sure if I'm ready for Heatran to come back to the game. It's kind of iffy for me. If they do add a couple of Ultra Beast, I would hope that they don't add all of them and they kind of drip feed them over time. I would hope that they add like Guzzlord. I'd be down for Guzzlord to get added to the game. Guzzlord is probably in one of the best spots it could possibly be in right now, due to the fact that there's like 3 fairies in the whole game, and you can bodyguard it pretty easily. I'm not against Guzzlord being added, so yeah, that's really sick. Champions also has a special tournament mode to handle team sheets for events. That's cool. I'm hoping that they use that in the future, and I'm hoping that they maybe add a open team sheet online format, because apparently they have a team sheet displaying in game. They have that functioning, you know. That's cool. The decision to increase the tournament participants for the Japan Championships from 64 to 128 was directly made by Hoshino to increase the overall competition. Yeah, makes sense. You know, we want more people playing in the game, and if we expect more people playing, we want more people in the tournament. Viewership for Pokemon Champions tournaments have increased by 150% compared to previous games. That is a ridiculous jump in viewership. This is not... It says it's increased by 150%. I want you to think about that. That does not mean that there's 50% more watching it. That means that there's double the viewership plus 50% of the original viewership. So it is 2.5 times the original people watching, right? If it's increased by 150%, that's 100 plus 150. That's kind of nuts. I don't know if that's a miscommunication. I don't know if it's just like a 50% increase and he means, you know, we have 150% of our viewership now. But if it is true, if there are literally double the amount of people watching and playing VGC, that's incredible news. Like that means that the outreach for the game is working, and that's all we really want. If the game's doing well, it's going to continue getting support, you know. And I've played this game for a long time. I played this game since 2015, and it was a much different environment back in 2015. You had freaking regionals, sub 100 people. Sub 100 people regionals, a complete thing of the past. I think even in 2019, we had like 100 people regionals, just because people were kind of sick of playing VGC in 2019. And then Sword and Shield came out, fixed all of that. Scarlet Violet, big bump in player base again. And then here in Champions, apparently we're the biggest we've ever been. So that's awesome. Special theme tournaments are set to debut in the future. I'm really glad about that. I was hoping for this because in other games, we had stuff like the Paldea Prologue or that one Pikachu tournament in Generation 6 that gave us the Endeavor Raichu. I'm hoping that they do these in Champions more, because I think that while I didn't play a lot of them in the previous generations, Champions is uniquely like equipped to do these sort of things. You can do more interesting tournament styles where it's like, oh, you know, you turn off Mega Evolution for an entire tournament, but like you can only use the Mega Pokemon. So you ban every non-Mega Pokemon, but you can't even Mega Evolve. Like that's a really goofy one, right? You could do that. You could do all electric types. You could do the all fairy type tournament even. Like these are just fun, different things that can happen. So I'm hoping that that is something that happens sooner rather than later, because also that's just good content for me, you know? Announcements are being planned for Champions post Worlds. That's awesome. We always, well, not always, we didn't get like any announcement for VGC last World Championships. Or maybe it was 2024. We didn't get any information. I forget which year it was, but there was one of the years where I was literally sitting there waiting and it was just like nothing. I'm pretty sure it was 2024. We got nothing. So I'm excited to see what the announcement is this time. It's probably going to be like mega ability reveals for MC, hopefully Glycopod. Hoshino uses a team exclusively made up of the Pokemon on the Pokken tournament roster. That's pretty fun. I mean, glad to know that he likes theme teams. But yeah, that is really all there is to this. I don't really know. Here, regarding UI, there are many requests for improvements. Yeah, they're aware. I was worried about the capacity, gigabytes. Oh wait, this is the RAM requirements, right? Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I just wanted to talk about this. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you believe that it's a conspiracy to keep Charizard at the top, or do you think that it was just a happy accident? Anyways, I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.